Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Now that it is the end of the year, I just wanted to do one last makeup declutter before we went into 2022. I was thinking about decluttering my entire makeup collection drawer by drawer, but honestly, I just did that, I don't know, back in April, and I feel like it's still pretty good with the exception of my eyeshadow palettes and my lip products. Those could always be decluttered, honestly, but I'll probably wait a few months to do that just because it is like a big undertaking and I'm not ready to do that yet. But I still wanted to just refresh my makeup collection. So I went through and I pulled out all of the products that I haven't used in a while or things that I just don't want to bring with me into 2022. I like to do that once or twice a year. That way I can remove products I'm not using so they're not cluttering my space and they're not just sitting in my collection going bad. I can pass them along to friends and family, and other people can try them out and see if they enjoy them. So that's what I'll be doing with all of these products. I like to share them with you guys first though, because I can let you know why I just haven't gotten use out of them. Maybe I have found something better. Maybe it's just not a great product for me. So I hope you guys enjoy my last declutter video. And if you like declutter videos, I have a ton of them on my channel from like previous years. So I'll link my playlist in the description box below. So I do have two products from Flower Beauty. These are both interesting products, and I do feel like they work pretty well, so I'm sure someone will enjoy them. They're just a little extra to use on a daily basis for me personally. So the first one is the Flower Beauty Supernova Celestial Priming Whip. This is basically a primer mousse. You shake it up and you spray it and it comes out like a mousse that you would wear in your hair. I used to use mousse to scrunch my hair when I was in junior high, and that's what this reminds me of. It's really interesting. I like when brands do something a little bit different because I feel like you just don't see that as often these days. But I guess I don't really understand the benefits of it. It does feel nice on the skin. It's definitely a moisturizing primer. I just don't know that I see a big difference when I use this compared to some of my other favorite moisturizing primers. It still feels like there's a good amount of product in here. I've only used it a handful of times. A small amount goes such a long way. I guess my only complaint with this is that a lot of product comes out and I feel like I don't end up using all of it. But I personally have a lot of moisturizing primers in my collection that I love, that I reach for fairly often. So I just thought I would pass this product along to someone else who might enjoy it and get more use out of it than I do because I haven't used it too much. The other product that I'm decluttering is this one. It is the Jet Set Invisible Powder Spray. This is such an interesting product, and I don't think it's a bad product. In fact, I do think it works. It's just it takes a lot of effort to use it. So you can do your foundation and use this to set your foundation. You can use it halfway throughout the day to mattify your skin, but it just feels like a lot of work because you have to spray a good amount of this to get an even application. It comes out very strong. It's not like a light, refreshing mist. Like, it is a direct spray. So I feel like it's kind of like jarring a little bit when you use this at first because you're not expecting it to be so intense. I also feel like I said, it takes a lot to get an even application because the spray is so direct. I feel like I have to move my hand really fast, spray continuously, and honestly, a little bit of the powder gets in my hair, gets on my clothes. I don't notice a white cast on my face, but I do notice that it kind of gets everywhere. It's like floating around my room. It gets on my things. It just feels like a lot of effort for a powder when there are so many powders out there. I just will reach for like any powder I'm using to kind of touch up my makeup throughout the day, and I think that this was a fun idea. I'm glad that I tried it. It works well enough. I just don't reach for it because it feels like it takes a lot of effort. So that is why I am decluttering these two products. Again, there's a good amount in here. I've used this one more for sure, but I figured if someone was curious about it and they wanted to try it out, they could test this before purchasing it themselves. There is another powder that I'm decluttering. This is the Pacifica Cherry Velvet Matte Translucent Setting Powder. I picked this up I think in the beginning of the year or maybe at the end of last year because some people were saying it was a good alternative to the Too Faced Peach Powder. I actually don't find the formulas to be very similar at all. This is a very, very lightweight powder. It does mattify your skin well and it sets your foundation really nicely, but it has such a strong cherry scent. The Too Faced Peach Powder has such a strong peach scent, but I don't mind that scent. This one is so strong that I feel like I can smell it throughout the day. So at first when I tried this product, I didn't really mind it, but the more that I used it, the more that I just felt like it was too strong. I don't know if it's just like as I get older or as my preferences change, but I don't necessarily love like super scented makeup products these days. It's not that I get a headache, I just don't really love smelling that artificial cherry scent on my face all day long. So that is really just my main issue with this. I still have a good amount of powder in here because a little bit goes such a long way the actual formula is really nice. It's very lightweight, really mattifying, and it does work well to set your foundation into place. I just can't seem to get past that cherry scent. I am decluttering this foundation, not because I don't love it. I love this foundation. It's the Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation, but I had a couple of shades. I think I purchased a few shades because I'm having a hard time finding like my perfect shade, perfect undertone in the line. And this is the shade 18 Cool Rose. I wouldn't really call this a cool foundation. It actually looks very warm on my skin, and it's a little bit darker than the shade 030 Neutral Sand, which is what I typically wear, even though it's 18. So I'm not sure how they number their foundations. I need to go back online and maybe purchase an additional shade. Actually, I want to purchase some foundation adjusters. I saw on TikTok that someone was like using a blue foundation mix-in to kind of neutralize foundations, and a lot of my foundations are so yellow, so I feel like that would come in handy for sure. So I think I might go online and try to find something like that, but this shade's just a little bit off for me. I thought I would pass it along to one of my sisters and see if they like the formula as much as I do. I am going to declutter this Jaclyn Cosmetics duo. This is the bronze and blushing duo. I have Pink Me Up and then also Oh Honey. I don't know if this is the lightest one or the second to lightest one, but I just find that it's a little bit too light. The product itself is very, very subtle, which is usually what I enjoy when it comes to cheek products, but these just don't show up very well on my skin. I actually haven't worn this for a while. Last time I was using it, I can't get it to stay open. Last time I was using it was during the summertime, and I probably had a little bit of a tan then. So I almost wonder if I used it now during the winter, if I would like it a little bit better. But honestly, I have a good amount of bronzers and blushes in my collection, and I've barely used this product just because it was so subtle. So again, I'd rather pass this along to my mom or one of my sisters and see if they really enjoy it, because I think they might get more use out of it than I have. I'm also decluttering this ColourPop Pressed Powder Cheek in the shade Crossroads. It's actually a really beautiful color, but I don't think I've worn it once since I did my blush declutter, so that tells me it's time to let it go. I don't know what it is about ColourPop's pressed powder cheek products, like their blushes. They don't really do a lot of bronzers and highlighters, but in the past when I've tried them, they've never become staples for me. I really like their Super Shock cheeks. In fact, I've been wearing their Super Shock blushes and highlighters a good amount this year. But I just find the powder blushes in general to be kind of mediocre. I really liked the heart blushes they did around Valentine's Day last year, but other than that, I really haven't been reaching for them. I just have so many blushes in my collection that work so well that I feel like ColourPop's formula is a little bit underwhelming. So I am decluttering this blush. I'm also decluttering 2 palettes from ColourPop. So I just did my eyeshadow palette ranking for 2021. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it in the description box below. But I did rank these palettes a little bit lower. They just weren't my favorite. I felt like the quality could have been better, and the color stories just weren't color stories I felt like I needed in my collection. So the first one I'm decluttering is the Limoncello palette. I think the packaging is so gorgeous, and it is a nice neutral palette, but I have so many neutral palettes in my collection, so I just don't feel like I need to keep this one as well. I feel like, again, someone who has a smaller collection might be able to get more use out of it than I do, and I do find that the shimmers are a little bit too subtle for what I typically like to wear. I usually like my shimmers to really pop, be super vibrant, really intense, and these are a little bit softer, more like simple, subdued, everyday shimmers. So again, I feel like someone would be able to get a lot of use out of this. I haven't used it a whole lot, and I think I got it like back in the spring, maybe this summer, and it's really going unused in my collection, so it's time to pass it along. I'm also decluttering the ColourPop Powerpuff Girls palette. This one just wasn't that great, to be honest. I like the color story. I think it really fits in well with the theme, and I'm sure there's someone that I know that really enjoys Powerpuff Girls, so they might like this palette a lot. I do think it is cute, but I just don't find that the quality, again, is as good as other ColourPop palettes I already own in my collection. I'm also not wearing these neon shades quite as much as I originally thought that I might. I just feel like I don't do a ton of colorful looks these days, so I just want to pass this product along before it gets too old. It is time to part with the Urban Decay Naked Cyber palette. I did do a full review on this. If you guys want to hear my thoughts, I'll link it in the description box below, but I just haven't really reached for it very much since filming that video. I've used it a handful of times because there are shades in here that I like, and I do think when you pair this with more of a dramatic palette, the shimmer shadows do tend to pop a little bit more, but I just don't feel like it needs to stay in my collection. If I was to keep this, it would probably end up getting decluttered next time I did an eyeshadow palette declutter. And because I've only had it for a few months, again, I'd rather just pass it along because there might be someone in my life who really enjoys these shadows. For me, I have a lot of eyeshadow and I have a lot of really beautiful, unique shimmers, but not everyone has a ton of shimmers to choose from. So I could see why some people might enjoy this. I personally just wish it had like a couple of deeper jewel tones to kind of pair with some of these shades. This half of the palette does perform nicely. This half of the palette tends to be just a little bit lackluster. Some of the shadows are a little bit dry. They're very powdery. I just feel like this is not typical Urban Decay Naked quality. I am decluttering two products from e.l.f. So I am decluttering the Acne Fighting Putty Primer. I like this product. I like the thought behind it. I just don't use it often enough to see long-lasting results. It does have salicylic acid in it, so it's supposed to help fight acne and just create like a smooth, even canvas before you go in with makeup. I do like the putty primer because, you know, especially if you have breakouts or texture, it just kind of smooths over your entire face. So when you apply foundation on top, it goes on really evenly, even over breakouts. So the idea of having like acne fighting ingredients in here is really nice, but I do tend to use the matte putty primer the most out of all of the formulas. So this isn't something I use on a daily basis, and because of that, I feel like I'm not necessarily getting those acne fighting properties. So again, I haven't had it for too long. I think it is a nice option, especially if you're going to use it every day, but also I wish the green provided like color correcting properties. It actually goes on sheer, and I thought the green might help cancel out some redness. If that was the case, this probably would be like my go-to primer because my face usually is pretty red, but it's just a translucent product. So I just feel like I don't need this. I have the regular putty primer and I also have the matte one, so I'm good with those for now. I am decluttering the e.l.f. Electric Mood Glassy Skin Balm. This is actually a really cool product. I just don't reach for it nearly enough, so it just doesn't need to stay in my collection. It's basically like this glossy clear highlighter that you can apply to your skin to give you like a really pretty glossy sheen, and I think it's really fun, really interesting. It's just not something I use very often. I definitely prefer powder highlighter overall. I think the quality is there. I know there are more expensive products like this, so if you've been thinking about trying this or trying something similar, try this one because it is nice. It's just not something I reach for very often, so that's why I'm decluttering it. I am decluttering this Huda Beauty Water Jelly Hydrating Primer. So I've used this a couple of times. It's actually, or it was in my everyday makeup drawer for winter, but after using it a few more times, I just don't notice a big difference when I use it. It's basically like this thin, liquidy, watery primer, and it kind of feels like the Smashbox Primerizer, but when I use that, I do feel like I notice a difference in the way that my makeup applies. When I use this, it honestly feels like I just kind of applied like a watery primer to my skin. So again, it's pretty much brand new. I'd rather pass it along and see if someone else really enjoys it. I think it, you know, works well enough, but again, I just don't notice a big difference when I use it. And because I have other hydrating primers I like a little bit more, I just thought I would declutter it. I am decluttering the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Eye Primer. I wanted this to work for me so much. I don't know why. I've said this before. Sometimes there are products that like have this grip on me and I use them over and over hoping to see different results. And for some reason they never work, but I keep trying them thinking they will. And this is one of those. I've used it on the eyes, under the eyes. I even tried using it like around my nose because that's where I get the most oily. My skin's looking pretty oily today. It's currently 8 p.m. when I'm filming this, so it's been a long day. I guess I could touch up my makeup, but I'm just a little bit too lazy because after I film this video, I'm just going to go wash my face. But whenever I use this on the eyes, my eyeshadow is so uneven. It's patchy. It looks like I don't know what I'm doing, and you know what? I'm not a makeup artist by any means. I feel like I could always improve my skills, but I feel like even with like the most blendable smooth eyeshadows, they look so bad on top of this. I don't get it. It's weird because when you apply it, it doesn't feel like super sticky or tacky. It doesn't feel like it's creating an uneven base, but it does. And your makeup just doesn't look good when you wear it on top of this product. So I don't recommend this. There are just so many good eye primers. I'm really liking the ColourPop one lately. That one's only I mean, maybe like $8. I actually have 2 more palettes I wanted to share. So I am decluttering the Buxom Tiki Bar Eye and Cheek palette. So earlier this year, Buxom released the White Russian Eye and Cheek palette, and I gave that one a really bad review. I just felt like the quality was not there, especially for the price. A few months later, they released this one. They actually sent it to me in the mail as PR, so I don't know if they ever saw my initial review or if they're just one of those brands that doesn't necessarily care. Some brands will kick you off their PR list if you give their products a bad review. Some brands don't really care, and I think some brands probably just don't keep up with it, to be honest. But this one is better than the White Russian palette. The quality is a lot better, a lot better. The shadows are blendable, the cheek products are nice. I just feel like this color story isn't really, it's not appealing to me as much as I thought it might. I have cheek products that are very similar to these, and these eyeshadows, whenever I use this palette, I feel like I don't know how to pull them all together. So again, it's just something that's not getting used very often in my collection. I think the quality, like I said, is better than the White Russian palette, and if this really appeals to you, the color story, then I think you might enjoy it, but it's just not something I find myself using very often, so I don't want it to just sit in my drawer going unused. The last eyeshadow palette I'm decluttering is the Catrice Lavender Breeze palette. This is a very subtle eyeshadow palette, which for me is just not something I like to reach for. I do like eyeshadows that have more pigment, that are a little bit more intense, but I know some people do like more of a subtle, buildable formula. So that's why I want to declutter this product and pass it along. I think the color story is really pretty. It just doesn't perform how I want it to. I definitely prefer shadows that have more of a punch, that are a little bit more vibrant. I thought it might be a good alternative to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina, but I'll just stick with the Norvina. That is one of my favorites. And this one, it's not as good in my opinion. Last product I'm decluttering is the Patrick Ta Monochrome Moment Velvet Blush in the shade She's Sincere. I actually talked about this in my worst products of 2021 video, and a lot of you guys told me that you have different shades from this line that you think perform better. So I think it might be this color. It's just so subtle that it doesn't even show up on my skin at all. It doesn't matter how much I layer it up, I get nothing. And I'm someone who really likes subtle cheek products. I don't like my cheek products to be too pigmented because I feel like I don't know, after all these years, I feel like I just don't always apply blush in the right way. Or I might apply too much and then it looks too intense. So I do like more of a subtle application, but this is just a little bit too subtle. I just prefer like a little bit of pigmentation. So for me, I don't know if it's the formula or the color that's a fail. I feel like it's probably the color, just because I do hear good things about Patrick Ta blushes, and a lot of you guys said that you love the blush palette and the blush duos. So I might try one of the blush duos in maybe like a slightly darker color, but this lighter shade, She's Sincere, just doesn't really do anything for my skin tone. So those are all of the makeup products I'm leaving behind in 2021. I will be passing them along to friends and family. Hopefully some people can get more use out of them than I have. It just feels good to give your collection a little refresh before the beginning of the year. I always like when I open up my collection and see products I love, because then I know no matter what I'm using, I'll end up enjoying my makeup look. But I hope you guys are doing well and just having a really good holiday season so far. Thank you for watching today's video. I will be back very soon with a new one. Bye.